Karoline Leavitt destroys Ilhan Omar. Democrats in panic. The cameras were rolling. The reporters were waiting. The air was thick with anticipation. Everyone knew this wasn't going to be just another press briefing. This was a battle. At the center of it, Karoline Leavitt and Ilhan Omar. The doors swung open. Leavitt walked in, calm, composed, like a gladiator stepping into the arena. The murmurs died down. Every reporter straightened in their seat. Every camera lens turned toward her. She adjusted the mic, scanned the room, then, with a razor-sharp voice, dropped the first bombshell. Let's get one thing straight. What you're about to hear today will expose the biggest lie in Washington. A pause. The tension thickened. Reporters exchanged glances. The viewers at home leaned in closer. Leavitt didn't flinch. She had the room exactly where she wanted it. She continued. For weeks, Ilhan Omar and the Democrats have been pushing a dangerous, reckless narrative. They claim to fight for justice. But today, I will prove to you that the truth is very different. A voice cut through the tension. Karoline, are you saying Ilhan Omar has been lying? The room froze. Reporters turned. The question came from CNN's senior correspondent, the one who never held back. Leavitt smirked. She leaned forward, eyes locked on the reporter. Not just lying, she said, tone sharp, deliberate, but deceiving millions of Americans. Gasps. A pen slipped from someone's fingers. Reporters exchanged hurried whispers. This was getting explosive. At the back of the room, Ilhan Omar sat stone-faced, her fingers gripping the table. She knew what was coming. She just didn't know how bad it would be. The showdown begins. A reporter near the front broke the silence. Karoline, if you're accusing Ilhan Omar and the Democrats of deception, then where's your proof? Leavitt didn't hesitate. Oh, I thought you'd never ask. She reached down, picked up a folder, and held it up for the cameras. Right here. Concrete evidence that exposes everything. Omar crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing. This is absurd, she said, shaking her head. More Republican fear-mongering. More conspiracy theories. The American people deserve better. Leavitt turned to her, expression sharp. Oh, we agree on one thing, Ilhan. The American people do deserve better. Better than the misinformation you've been feeding them. The tension in the room was suffocating. Reporters whispered among themselves. Some scribbled notes furiously. Others just watched, eyes darting between the two women. The CNN reporter pressed again. Then let's hear it, Karoline. What's in that folder? Leavitt flipped it open. Let's start with your own words, Ilhan, shall we? She pulled out a printed statement. You recently said, and I quote, "There is no real crisis here. It's all manufactured outrage." She turned toward the audience. Tell me, how is it manufactured, when crime is rising, when illegal crossings have doubled, when American families are suffering because of reckless policies? Omar leaned forward. That's a gross misrepresentation of what I said. Leavitt raised a brow. Really? Then let's talk about what you didn't say, because silence can be just as telling. Omar's jaw tightened. Leavitt flipped another page. When violent protests erupted, when small businesses were burned to the ground, when innocent people were hurt, you refused to condemn it. Why? Omar scoffed. That is not true. Leavitt didn't miss a beat. Then say it now. Right here, right now. Condemn the violence. The room went silent. All eyes were on Omar. The cameras zoomed in.
She didn't respond.
Leavitt smirked. That's what I thought. Reporters whispered. Some exchanged glances. Omar's silence was deafening. Leavitt placed the folder back on the podium. I have more, a lot more. But let's give Ilhan a chance to explain herself first. She gestured toward Omar. Go ahead. Defend your record. The turning point. Omar took a deep breath, steadying herself. Gladly. She straightened her posture. She wasn't going to let Leavitt control the narrative. Let's be clear about what's happening here, Omar said, voice measured but firm. This isn't about facts. This is about Republicans using fear tactics to divide Americans. Leavitt chuckled, shaking her head. Classic. When backed into a corner, deflect, and attack the messenger. Omar ignored her. She turned toward the reporters. This entire spectacle is designed to distract from real issues: poverty, racial injustice, healthcare. While Karoline is here waving papers around, real Americans are struggling. Leavitt leaned on the podium, smirking. Struggling because of failed policies like yours. Omar turned to her, eyes locked. Tell me, Karoline, what have you personally done to help struggling families, other than stand here and grandstand? A murmur rippled through the room. The reporters liked this. A real fight. Leavitt's smirk didn't waver. Well, unlike you, I don't just talk, I act. Let's go over a few things, shall we? She lifted another page from her folder. Democrat-run cities are seeing record-high crime. Businesses are fleeing. Families can't afford groceries. And you call that progress? Omar crossed her arms. That's a gross oversimplification, and you know it. Crime is a complex issue. Leavitt cut in. Not that complex. Enforce the law. Hold criminals accountable. Stop prioritizing politics over public safety. Omar's eyes darkened. You want to talk about accountability? Then, let's talk about corruption in your party. Leavitt's expression didn't change. You're right, Ilhan. Let's talk about accountability. That's exactly what we're doing right now. The room was electric. The cameras zoomed in. And while we're at it, Leavitt continued, let's discuss something else. Something you really don't want to talk about. She tapped her folder. Your recent campaign donors. Omar's expression flickered, just for a second. Leavitt saw it. And she knew. She had just found her next move.